When Haruto is a kid, he has to move places and his friend Michon begs him not to leave her. He promises to return to her when he is an adult and to marry her. In the present, Haruto rides in a bus and spots a kid in the bus. Just then, the bus loses control of its brakes and it hurls around the road. It ends up running into a train and both the vehicles collide, as a result of which he loses his life. In the past, Michon promises Haruto that they will marry in the future and will always stay together. In present, he wakes up in the kingdom of Beltrum in someone else's body and starts to recall the memories of the body he is inhabiting, which belongs to a guy named Ryo. He gets confused whether he is Ryo or Haruto and remembers that he saw his childhood friend Michon some time ago at a school with another guy. All of his memories get muddled up and a bunch of guys enter the storage room where he was resting. They seem surprised to see him awake since they thought he was pretty sick with a fever and start to put down a table to eat food. They discuss how they got a shady job to transport some material for some gold coins, and one of the guys tells Ryo to go eat food somewhere else since he stinks. Ryo heads out and finds some berries in a bush to eat. He remembers how Haruto had gotten into a traffic incident, but his own and Ryo's memories continue to confuse him, and he tells himself that he only has to remember that he is Ryo who has to avenge his mother's death. In the past, Ryo asks his mom why both their hair color is black, and she answers that their family has come from a very faraway place called Yagumo where they all have black hair. Their extended family lives in the same place, and his mom promises that they will go to Yagumo to meet her family one day. She afterwards gets killed, and Ryo keeps telling himself that he will definitely take revenge for her. He is putting on his shirt when some fancy women approach him and ask him whether he has seen a girl with light purple hair. They seem very rude, and one of the women named Celia tells the others that she will talk to him instead. She approaches Ryo and after introducing herself, asks him nicely whether she has seen the girl with light purple hair. He reveals that he has never seen such a girl and that his own hair is black because he is an immigrant. Celia wonders whether she should head to the slums to look for the girl, so Ryo advises her to not go into the slums because of her high status and fancy clothes. The women discuss that they should change their clothes and come back for their search. One of them, named Vanessa, tells Celia to conduct a magic search in the vicinity, and Celia then conjures a magic circle around her. She detects that Ryo has a great amount of magic in him and then gifts him some silver coins as a payment for helping them out. The girls head back while Ryo has a heart attack when he sees the silver coins in his hand. He rushes to the storage room to tell his buddies about the gift, but just when he enters the room, a man attacks him and his coins all fall down. The masked man approaches him again, and Ryo has a vision in which a girl appears and tells him that she will teach him about magic and how to use his magic powers. She touches his face, which causes a light to appear around his body, and then advises him to use the light to increase his physical abilities to make his body strong. His senses sharpen up, and when the masked man attacks him, he blocks his attack by using techniques that he learnt as Haruto. The masked man uses magic to increase his abilities too, and Ryo then fights back with the masked man. He breaks his arm and then flips him over his shoulder. He is about to attack him again, but he notices that the man has now been knocked out. All of his companions are also knocked out, and he notices that there is a sack in a corner which is moving around. He opens it only to reveal that there is a purple-haired girl inside, and she asks him to help her out. She pleads with him to take her to the castle and that her father will reward him. She then faints on the spot like a chicken heart when she sees the bloodshed around her, and Ryo realizes that maybe Celia and the other women were looking for her all along. He takes her outside where Celia's group is still searching for her, and one of the midget girls named Christina comes rushing at him when she spots the girl. She slaps him and takes the purple-haired girl named Flora away from him. Vanessa hands Flora over to the other girls while Christina keeps accusing Ryo that he must be the kidnapper who took away Flora. Ryo grabs her hands to shut her endless yapping mouth, and Vanessa then tells him to step away with a sword at his chest. She tells Christina to stop provoking him and Ryo to accompany them to the castle to get investigated. He refuses to go, but she declares that it's a royal order which he has to follow. The royal soldiers find Ryo's companions as well as the masked men, and they bring him out for investigation. A suspicious man watches everything unfold, and he uses a technique which causes the masked man to die on the spot. Meanwhile, some royal guards tie Ryo up, and the vice-captain of the Knights, Charles, asks him to admit that he helped in the kidnapping of Flora, who is actually the second princess of the kingdom. He refuses to admit anything, so Charles starts to beat him up. Flora wakes up in her bedroom on the other side of the castle, and her attendant Vanessa informs her about the whole situation. She immediately orders her and Celia to bring Ryo to her, since he actually saved her life. Meanwhile, Charles is having the time of his life beating Ryo up, and Vanessa finds him all beaten up. She reminds Charles that she had ordered him to treat him courteously, but Charles thinks that Rio is definitely involved in Flora's kidnapping. Vanessa tells him about how he actually saved Flora and then makes him release Rio. Celia heals Rio up, and later Rio wakes up in a fancy bed with Celia keeping him company. She apologizes to him for everything that has happened and reveals that she is learning magic from Beltrum Magic Academy, due to which she was able to heal him too. She informs him that he has been granted an audience with the king who wants to express his gratitude to her, and he asks her to teach him about the manners to present himself at the court. Sometime later, Rio gets announced at the king's court, and he enters in a fancy suit and haircut, surprising everyone. Later, Celia asks Rio whether he can read or write, which makes him reveal that he has never studied. She then asks him to come to her research lab after school in the basement of the library tower. She leads him to a classroom but warns him that most of the students are from royal or titled families, due to which they might have attitude problems. He reveals that he already knows his place, and she then welcomes him to the Beltrum Academy. They both enter the classroom where Celia announces him, and the students start whispering about how he has come from slums due to the king's favor. Some time ago, when he was granted the audience with the king thanked him for saving Flora, and he in return talked with him according to the proper court manners. The king then rewarded him by enrolling him into the Beltrum Academy Primary School as a scholarship student. In the present, Rio introduces himself to the whole class, and one of the rude boys comments that he talks like a servant. The class begins with Celia as their teacher, and she teaches everyone some mathematics problems. Rio also notes down everything, but she advises him not to push himself too much on the first day. His classmates all laugh around him, and later he visits her in the basement to learn how to write. Celia seems to have forgotten that he was even coming, and she welcomes him to her den of research, which looks like a mess. She makes excuses about being a klutz and reveals that she is actually 12 years old, but she skipped a lot of grades to quickly graduate from high school. She then teaches him basic maths problems, and he quickly solves all of them. He realizes that he still has his knowledge from his university life when he was Haruto, but he tells Celia that his mom taught him basic maths. She compliments his mom and then makes tea for the both of them. She also asks him to confide in her whenever he is having any problems. Later, all the students have their sword training class, in which the teacher asks Rio to come at him with his wooden sword. In his other life, Haruto knew swordsmanship, which he learned from his teacher, due to which he assumes the same stance without any hesitation. He rushes at the teacher, and both their swords strike against each other. He keeps recalling the advice his previous teacher gave him, which makes him fearless, and rather than backing down, he keeps attacking his teacher again and again. The other kids notice that his skill seems polished, and when the match ends, his teacher points out that he can become a knight with his skill. He replies that he is not interested in becoming the knight, which shocks all the students. Afterwards, he studies on his own after classes and tells Celia that he wants to give his best in the upcoming grading exams. She reminds him that he doesn't have to become the beta all of a sudden by worrying about such exams, because he has just enrolled, but he remains stubborn. Soon the exams take place, and he gives his best, just like he intended to. After the exams, he joins the students and recalls Haruto's childhood friend Michon all of a sudden. He remembers that he had separated from Michon because his parents divorced, but he also saw her in high school. Soon she went away from high school, and he never saw her after that. He tells himself to forget about Michon, and that he needs to focus on his current life only. The exam result gets announced, and he and the first princess Christina tie for the first spot in the class. The other students cannot believe this, and one of the students named Alphonse starts accusing him of doing some kind of fraud to come first in the class. Christina also steps in to defend him by saying that any accusation can also hurt the academy's reputation, and Celia overhears the yapping of the students. She declares that Rio worked hard to come at the top of his class, and Alphonse walks away with his minions. Later, Celia congratulates Rio in private, and they both discuss how she used to be ridiculed by all the children of the noble families back in the day. He assures her that he will be all right, and that he considers her his friend. She thinks he is treating her like a child, and he asks her to advise him whenever he is in trouble and needs her help. Soon time passes by, and 5 years later one of the teachers announces to the class that there is going to be an exhibition tournament for the knights. A few of the primary students will participate as well, and both Alphonse and Rio get selected for the tournament. Alphonse declares that he cannot accept Rio, especially because he cannot even use magic, and the teacher reminds him that his decision is final. Celia also congratulates him later on, and he teases her about still being short while he has outgrown her in the past 5 years. She reveals that the knights may even scout students in the upcoming tournament, but he seems uninterested in the notion. He informs her that he wants to go on a journey after his graduation and that he doesn't like living in the current country. Celia offers him to work with her, but he reminds her that she has to get married soon and a commoner like him won't look good working with her. He reveals that he wants to go to his homeland Yagumo, making Celia think that he seems pretty serious about his goal. Sometime later, the exhibition tournament starts in which knights have to fight against the Beltrum Academy students. A knight named Emerl announces Rio to the ground first, and Alphonse tells Rio to not hurt his reputation by fighting badly. Rio then steps on the ground and comes across his challenger, who turns out to be Charles, who had previously beaten him into a pulp. Rio thanks him for taking care of him before, and Charles recalls how he was demoted many years ago for being too rough on Rio. The fight begins and both of them fight seriously against one another. Rio sees an opening and manages to get Charles to drop his sword, which makes his victory. Charles starts whining that he let his guard down and he wants another chance, but the referee Emerl tells him to just accept his loss. Charles accepts his defeat and Rio thanks him for the match. Later, the tournament ends with all other matches being won by the knights, and after the tournament, Charles whines about his defeat to an ambassador of another empire named Rice. The ambassador makes him spill beans about how Rio was involved in the kidnapping of Princess Flora 5 years ago, and he also keeps pouring drinks to him to make him spill even more secrets. He recalls how he was present at the kidnapping site and had killed the masked man himself. The next day, Celia sees a girl giving Rio a letter and then running away. Rio tries to stop the girl, while Celia becomes very emotional to see this. In one of the classes, Celia tells the students that magic uses formulas that are designed to control magical power, and that the students will now use lightning to try to control magical powers. Alphonse reminds her that lighting is a very basic magic formula, which everyone should be able to use, but then starts taunting Rio that he cannot probably use it. Celia asks him to demonstrate lighting magic, and he and his friends summon magic circles which release light. Celia comments that their spells are incomplete since each person has different magical affinity, and that sometimes a person can even use multiple techniques at some time. She shuts the class curtains, and then summons a bunch of magical circles which release light that gets diffused on the students. Rio thinks about how he cannot conjure magical techniques, but he can reproduce magic. Celia gives the whole class a lengthy lecture on magical control, and afterwards one of the students thanks her for such moving insight. He scolds Rio for flirting around with girls, including Celia, due to which Celia declares that Rio has never done such a thing. The noble student reminds Rio that he will have to face his family's wrath if does anything foolish during the outdoor practicum. Flora overhears the conversation and thinks that Rio is being falsely accused. However, Christina tells her not to get involved with Rio. She thinks that Rio is always taking care of everything on his own and that she has never been able to properly thank him. Soon the class holds an outdoor practice in which they have to do a team exercise to test the abilities they have learnt in the academy. Alphonse tells his team that they have to head towards their goal by sunset through the mountain and forest, and that he has a full-fledged plan. Christina's friend thinks that they cannot reach their goal by sunset. But Alphonse reveals that he gathered information from his daddy's guards about which shortcut routes to take. The students discuss whether cheating is allowed, and Alphonse defends himself that such information is allowed and is useful in real situations. He asks Christina about her opinion, and she answers that he can make the decision because he is the group commander. The group heads on their way, and the nobles make Rio pick all their luggage. Flora offers to share his burden, but he assures her that he is all right. On their way, they come across a pack of goblins, and Alphonse starts giving out instructions on what to do. He tells the students on the outside to boost their physical abilities, and the students charge at goblins after buffing themselves up. They quickly take care of the goblins, and Rio notices a presence at a distance. The nobles scold him for being distracted, while the ambassador Rice remains hidden in the forest. He wonders whether he should test Rio's abilities to check out his abilities. The group finally leaves the forest, only to realize that they are on top of a cliff and that they will have to head back to find another way. Christina asks Alphonse what his plan is, and just then a bunch of orcs attack them. Alphonse orders the boys to shield themselves, and a noble student Stuart gets hurt by the orc attack. He ends up accidentally pushing Flora down the cliff, and Rio jumps after her. He enhances his abilities and pushes Flora on the cliff while he himself falls down. Alphonse makes the guys form a wall, while the girls use magic from behind the wall to attack the orcs. One of the girls heals Stuart, and soon the whole group manages to take care of the orcs. Rio overhears the commotion from beneath the cliff, and he thinks about how his physical abilities always help him out, but he still doesn't know them or how they can be used. The group starts arguing about how Flora was pushed from the cliff, and one of the girls suggests that maybe Stuart pushed her from the cliff. Stuart instead proposes that Rio pushed Flora off the cliff, and they start discussing whether Rio is the actual culprit. Flora defends him with all her might, and Christina tells the group to focus on their goals. Rio watches everything from a distance, and thinks that graduating might be difficult for him after all. The group heads back to find another way, and Flora asks them whether they will really abandon Rio. Alphonse comments that Rio is only getting the treatment which he deserves, so Flora decides to go out to look for him by herself. Christina tries to convince her to not be so rash, and just then a huge monster appears before them. Christina immediately throws a lightning ball at him, but it doesn't affect him. The Vanguard students increase their physical abilities, while the girls summon ice magic to throw it at the monster. The magic doesn't affect him, nor does the attacks from the Vanguard guys. One of the students gets injured, and Alphonse yells at all the students to retreat by running away. Everyone runs away in a panic, while Flora brings the injured students to a side and starts healing him. The monster approaches her and is about to barbecue her when suddenly Rio jumps in between and slices his arm away. He tells Flora to get the injured student away and starts to fight the monster all by himself. The monster is too quick for him, but he dodges all his attacks and continues to deal with him by blocking his attacks with his sword. He then sees an opening, so he lunges at him and slices away his neck. The other students rush to join Flora, while Rio walks away from them into the forest. Rice watches everything from the air and wonders whether Rio is actually the child of one of the people who migrated from Yagumo, due to which he is able to use spirits magic as well. Later at the academy, Celia overhears Stuart's father talking to one of the headmasters, Garcia, about Rio. Garcia admits that Flora is advocating for Rio, but Duke Huguenot reminds him about the crucial role his family is playing to maintain peace in the region. He keeps whining about his role, due to which Garcia finally agrees to blame Rio for all the incidents. Afterwards, Rio visits Celia in her lab and tells her about everything that happened at the forest. She thinks that he is being wronged, and he reveals that he plans to say goodbye to her. He starts ranting that she was the only person who was good to him and that he was glad for her company. She realizes that he is going to Yagumo now, and he promises to write letters to her in the name of Haruto along the way. She then hugs him and makes him promise that he will be all right and will return in the future. She bids him a safe trip, and he then heads out while she cries all by herself. At the Huguenot mansion, Duke Huguenot throws Rio's jacket at a girl, Latifah, and asks her to remember his smell. He then orders her to find and kill Rio quickly. Rio heads on his way to Yagumo and reaches the neighboring country in 3 days. He sends a letter to Celia telling him about his arrival and that the new country is hustling and bustling. He comes across a noodle shop which reminds him of his life as Haruto, so he tries a bowl of noodles and wonders whether the creator of noodle dish Lisalot is also from Haruto's world. He enjoys the dish and asks the owner about where he can buy the noodles from. The owner guides him to the Rika Merchant Guild, where Lisalot sells a lot of other dishes and noodles. He heads to the guild where a server named Latte asks him to deposit his sword with them for caretaking. She takes his sword and guides him around the guild. She shows him around the shops and later buys tons of pasta and barley along with seasonings on his request. She thinks that he may struggle to carry it, but he assures her that he has done a lot of physical training and will be alright. Latte then serves him tea, and when she sees him drink like a good boy, she asks him whether he likes drinking it. He reveals that he used to drink a lot of tea with an old friend, which makes her question whether he can recognize the tea leaves. He discusses the tea leaves with her and writes a detailed letter to Celia telling her about everything. He then heads on his journey again while Latte, who is actually Lisalot, wonders about the mysterious guy that she spent the day with. He rushes through the forest, but soon comes across a fallen child. He gets close to her to check what's wrong, but suddenly the child Latifah turns on him and sticks a needle on him which is poisonous. He backs away quickly and takes out the needle. She declares that she will kill him while he starts to use magic to heal himself to reduce the poison's effect. She then lunges at him with her blade and he tries to block all her attacks. She keeps coming at him again and again, and he notices that she has extraordinary speed, probably due to her beast person identity. She then uses magic to enhance her physical abilities, which shocks him because he thought she was already using magic. She lunges at him again with top-tier speed, and he keeps trying to dodge her swift attacks. He notices that she is too focused on her knife, so he drops his own weapon and cleverly throws her away when she lunges at him. She hits the tree and jumps back at him, so he cleverly dodges her attack and flips her over. He then disarms her and sits on her, which suddenly makes her start crying. She asks him not to kill her and starts crying out for her mom. Rio then knocks her out using magic and binds his hands. He notices a collar of submission on her neck, which reminds him that he has read a spell on how to dispel such collars. He uses the same spell to break her collar and recalls how he saw a small girl just like her at the bus in his life as Haruto before he died. In the past, Latifah is kept as a pet at Stuart's house where Stuart keeps tormenting her, and she wonders why he is calling her Latifah when her real name is Endo Suzune. She sees her new reflection in the war and Stuart asks her to call him esteemed brother, but when she refuses, he uses the collar of submission on her to cause her immense pain. She wakes up in the present only to find that her hands and feet are all bound up. Rio warns her not to start screaming, and she thinks that he will become violent, so she asks him whether he won't kill him if she stops fighting. He shows her the collar and comments that she doesn't have any more reason to keep following her master's orders. She then starts crying out loud and after thousands of years of whining, reveals that she doesn't know about her master's name or his house but only knows about the name of her esteemed brother. She reveals that his name was Stuart, which makes Rio realize that his classmate was behind everything after all. He asks her the last question whether she still wants to kill him, and she answers that she won't go after him anymore. He cuts her ropes and tells her that she is free from now on, so she should run away. He heads back as he keeps thinking that the surrounding area of Stroll is infamous for making slaves of beast persons like her. He advises her to head east where there must be an area where beast persons can live together with humans. He heads on his way but Latifah keeps following him and he warns her that he did not rescue her to make her accompany him. She declares that she wants to stay with him since they are both going in the same direction of east, but he decides that he cannot trust her. She brings out her collar to suggest that he can put it on her, and he scolds her for carrying it around, since he knows that the collar used to hurt her a lot. She reveals that she doesn't want to stay alone, and he lets her accompany her after telling her to throw away the collar. They both head on their journey together and stop at a place to eat food. She remains nervous and apologetic in his company, which makes him comment that she shouldn't be so tense around him. Rio makes a sandwich for her, and she eats it after getting his permission. She finds it delicious as she keeps remembering that Stuart used to feed her pet food when she was a captive. They keep traveling day after day and soon arrive near the wilderness where they decide to set the camp. Celia on the other side receives a letter from Haruto which gives her the update about him and she prays for him to remain safe and sound. Rio makes pasta for the both of them and Latifah eats it quickly. She calls it spaghetti, which makes Rio think maybe she has also transferred into this world just like him. He asks her whether she has eaten a lot of pasta, and she reveals that she has despite her slavery past. Later they both head to sleep, and Latifah has a dream in which she keeps calling out her parents and siblings. She even mentions Tokyo in her sleep, so Rio gets close to her and assures her that everything will be alright. The next morning when she wakes up, she asks him whether she can call him Big Brother, and he thinks about how she was transferred into the current world from Tokyo. He agrees to her request, and she then asks him to make omelette for her for breakfast. He then spots a huge tree in the wilderness area, but Latifah somehow is unable to see the tree. Rio thinks that there's some magic around the tree which hides it from people's eyes. They both head inside the forest and later at night make camp in an area. Latifah heads to sleep and starts to have nightmares, so Rio uses magic to cure his nightmares. He then senses a presence and goes outside to see a wolf. The wolf releases a sharp light which blinds Rio and turns into a demi-human. A bunch of demi-humans then attack him and he uses detection magic to sense their presence to avoid their attacks. The demigirls discuss that he is using some kind of spirit art to detect magic in the area, and Rio asks him to wait because he wants to talk with them. The girls discuss that they cannot trust a human guy and that they should assume the worst-case scenario in dealing with him. The demi-girls agree to hear him out, and one of them steps forward to deal with him while the rest search his stuff. She asks him not to call them demi-humans, and the other girls inform her that there is a beast person with him who has been put to sleep by using spirit magic. One of the girls, named Yuzuma, rushes at him when she hears this and attacks him. The other girl reminds her that she didn't give any orders to attack him, and Yuzuma reminds her that Rio has kidnapped one of their own. Yuzuma keeps attacking him, and the girls tell him that they have to restrain him now since he seems like the bad guy. He tries telling them that he was bringing Latifah to them, but they don't listen to him and knock him out by electrocuting him. He has a dream in which a girl approaches him and reveals that she doesn't know who she is, but she is connected to him somehow. She hugs him and he wakes up surrounded by a few girls. Latifah comes barging inside and she jumps on him as she starts crying. She notices that he seems injured and that his hands are all tied up, so she demands to know from the girls who tied him up. An older beast person named Ursula walks inside and apologizes to Rio for their behavior. Latifah starts demanding to know who treated Rio so badly, and Yuzuma is the first one to admit her mistake. She bows down and begs him for forgiveness. The other Beast Girls follow her by asking him for forgiveness, and the elder Ursula declares that they will all get punished soon. One of the girls named Orphan unlocks his bindings as Ursula keeps ranting that all the elders will gather in the morning to give him a formal apology. The girls set up his room for the night and leave him and Latifah alone. The next morning, Ursula takes him to meet the elders, and on the way he asks her about the huge tree he keeps seeing everywhere. She reveals that it's the world tree where a spirit of mighty trees, named the Great Dryas, resides. She compliments him for being able to see the tree because there is a high-level illusionary magic around the tree which hides it from normal eyes, and asks him whether anyone has taught him spirit art before. He answers that his techniques are all self-taught, and she compliments his skills again. She then takes him to meet the two other elders, and the elders named Sildora and Dominic welcome him. They thank him for saving Latifah from slavery, and ask him to reveal whatever he wants from them. He asks them to keep Latifah with them, but he realizes that she has grown very attached to him, due to which he asks them to let him stay in the village with her for some time. They immediately agree to his request, and he asks them whether anyone can teach him spirit arts, and about the way of living of the beast persons. The elders start discussing who can teach him such a thing, and suddenly a girl appears behind Rio to declare that they should move on to her agenda now. She turns out to be the spirit of the world tree named Dryas, and she immediately senses that there is a little presence of a spirit within Rio's body. She asks Rio whether he has made a covenant with a spirit before, but he doesn't know anything about it, and she explains that the presence of a spirit inside a human can hinder their magical abilities. He recalls all the moments in the school when he was unable to use magic, and she then asks him to let her look inside him to search for the spirit. He agrees to her request, and she grabs his face. She senses that there is a great amount of magic inside him, along with a person-shaped spirit who is sleeping inside his body. She explains that spirits like herself are second most greatest spirits in the world, and that most of them vanished in a demon war thousands of years ago. The elders start considering whether they should treat him as a saint, and Dryas then takes him to a house where Latifah is being kept. She starts ranting about how great the house is on seeing him, and then takes him to see all the areas around the house. He eats lunch with all the Beast Girls and notices that their food is very different from where he is coming from. After lunch, the Beast Girl named Sarah asks him which room the Beast Girl should sleep in, and he becomes confused because he doesn't know what she is talking about. She explains that 3 of the Beast Girls are supposed to live with him from now on and help him and Latifah out. Ursula arrives and asks him permission to let the girls stay with him. He thinks that the Beast Girls may not want to stay with a human like him, and she explains that the Beast persons need to gain knowledge about humans by living with them, and that Latifah also needs to make friends other than her. Rio agrees to let them stay and welcomes all the girls in his harem. Soon he starts living with them and learns all their ways. He learns how to do spirit magic, along with how the beast persons live. He learns how to fight with Yuzuma's help, and one day joins the Grand Spirit Festival that's held in the village. The elders make offerings to the spirit, and Dryas appears to bless them. Meanwhile, Rice lands at a huge cave with another guy and heads inside the cave while he tells his companion to wait outside. Some time ago, his companion passed some tests to enter the Lion Brigade military branch, and Rice told him that he needs to pass the last test which will allow him to enter the Lion Brigade. As a part of the final test, Rice took him to the cave and in the present, soon comes outside with a huge egg. He explains that the egg may be used to augment the Lion Brigade's military strength, and makes his companion carry the egg. They both ride on their griffin and head to the Stall region, while a group of beasts pursue them for their egg. At the Spirits Festival, the elder announces to the village that they are going to welcome Rio as their sworn friend and Latifah as their resident. The both of them walk up to Dryas, who kisses their forehead to bless them, and afterwards the whole village celebrates with feast and drinks. The Beast Girls get themselves drunk and cling closely to Rio. Both Orphan and Sarah hug him together, while Latifah hangs onto his neck, which makes it hard for him to breathe. One of the Beast Girls named Alma scolds them for bothering Rio so much, and they whine that Rio doesn't become close to them while Latifah treats them like an older sister. Rio promises to become an even better friend to them, and the girls then head away to get more drinks. Ursula joins Rio, and they both discuss how Latifah has become close with everyone now. Rio thinks he should tell her about leaving on his journey now, and Ursula supports his idea. Meanwhile, Rice and his friends stop at a place to rest for the night, and Rice decides to head out into the forest to scout the area. He gives his minion an artifact to eat which will allow him to trace his location, and advises him to escape with the griffin in case there is any trouble. He then tells him to take care of the egg and heads inside the forest. He uses magic to fly in the air and notices that some beasts are heading towards the forest to search for the egg, which makes him wonder whether his bait will work or not. Rio takes Latifah into the forest to have a talk with her, and she starts whining that they should head back to the plaza to have more food and drinks. He asks her whether she has fun in the village, and she starts going on about how much fun she has. He reveals that he plans to head to the east in some time, but she starts saying that she will go with him and won't ever leave him alone. He tries to get her to listen, but she doesn't hear anything and runs away. The elders tell the beast girls that a lot of anomalies were detected inside the barriers, and the girls head out to check what has happened. Rice arrives at the beast cave, and his plan was to lure the beasts out through a bait in order to come back to the cave to get the remaining of the eggs. He then starts to teleport all the eggs away one by one. The beast girls detect suspicious magical activity in the forest and spot a human with a griffin. They all land near him and ask him to come with them for an investigation. The minion instantly backs away and escapes with the griffin, so Sarah orders the girls to attack the griffin to bring him down. Yuzuma attacks him in midair, and he directs the griffin towards the direction of their village. Just then a wyvern spots him and tries to take the egg away. The group of wyverns starts pursuing him, and the beast girl realizes what's happening, so Sarah orders her girls to stop the wyverns while she sends one of the girls to the village to inform the elders. Rice finishes teleporting all the eggs away, so he uses the artifact to get rid of his minion, and on the other side his minion falls down from the griffin. Sarah orders Alma to defeat the huge black wyvern who is leading the pack, so Alma asks her to lend her bond spirit to her. Sarah releases magic into the air which transforms into a wolf, and Alma rides on it to attack the black wyvern. Latifah walks through the forest and keeps thinking of Rio's words about leaving the village. Suddenly Rice's minion's body drops on the ground in front of her, along with the egg that he was holding, and a black wyvern spots the broken egg, which makes him furious. The villagers begin to take shelter and evacuate, while one of the elders tells Rio that the festival has been cancelled because of the attack by a group of wyverns. He realizes that Latifah may be in danger, so he storms off to the forest to search for her. The wyvern attacks Latifah and sends her flying against a tree. It then throws a fire attack at her, but Alma jumps in between and blocks it by using wind magic of her own. She warns Latifah to stay back as she summons the wolf spirit, and both of them attack the wyvern physically. The attack doesn't work out, and the wyvern sends her flying against a tree. Latifah suggests to Alma that they should run away, but Alma reminds her that they need to buy time, or else the wyverns will reach the village. The wyvern attacks the spirit animals, and Latifah lures him by running away. It keeps attacking her while she tries to run away, and at one point Rio jumps in to save her. He carries her away to a safe place, and then starts to battle the wyvern with bare hands. Due to his enhanced physical abilities, he manages to defend himself, and the black wyvern throws a fireball at him. He throws wind magic at him which extinguishes the fear, and the wyvern prepares to attack him again. This time, Rio jumps on top of him and forces him to close his mouth, due to which the wyvern swallows his own fire and collapses on the ground. The other wyverns head back to their cave, and the girls join Rio. They start fangirling over his abilities and discuss that the black wyvern probably headed back because he defeated the black wyvern. The next morning, Latifah apologizes to Rio for acting out by running into the forest and admits that she already knew he would leave one day. She starts whining about being useless and pathetic, so Rio assures her that she is not a burden on him. He considers her his little sister, and she hugs him then. She decides to let him leave the village after all, and believes that they will meet again one day. Rio shares with her that his late parents came from Yagumo region, due to which he wants to go there again. She shares with him that she was actually a human from Japan a long time ago, but she died and reincarnated as a beast person. He shares that he also came from Japan, and that he couldn't share anything with her in the beginning because of her fragile mental state. Later Rio bids goodbye to the elders, and one of them gives him a special sword which can absorb his spirit arts and cloak itself in his magic. They also give him clothes made out of the black wyvern's hide to act as an armor, along with many medicines and food and drinks. They give him a storage space handler which can store everything, and he gladly accepts their gift. The girls bid him goodbye one by one, and Rio asks them to take care of his little sister Latifah. She starts crying, and Rio then heads on his journey towards the east. Soon Rio arrives in Yagumo and stays there for 2 weeks, but he doesn't find any clue about his parents there. One time he heads to the fields and asks the women whether they can show him to the village head. The girl named Ruri reveals that her grandma is the village head and shows him the way. Ruri and her friend named Seo show him to the village head named Yuba, and Rio introduces himself to her. He reveals the purpose of his visit, and Yuba invites him inside for tea. He reveals that he is looking for any clues about his parents who were named Zen and Ayam, and after hearing their names, Yuba tells Ruri and Seo to go back to their work. They leave them and Ryo shares more details about his parents, that his dad died before he even knew him while his mother died when he was 5 years old. He made a promise with his mother to visit Yagumo, due to which he wanted to visit the area and make graves for his parents. Yuba shares that she knows both his parents and that Zen was his child, which makes her his grandmother. She reveals that they already have graves prepared for his parents and takes him to the graves where he pays his respects. She reveals that his parents had to leave Yagumo in secret due to certain reasons, and they knew that his parents would never come back, due to which they made graves for them. Ryo wonders what their reason for leaving Yagumo was, but Yuba refuses to reveal any reason. She asks him to live in the village for the time being, and shares that she only lives with Ruri because all her other relatives have passed away. She reveals that Ruri is actually his cousin who is his age fellow, and he then agrees to stay with her. She decides to keep his lineage secret for a while, and then heads back while he stays at his parents' graves for a little while more. He later returns to her house where Ruri welcomes him and they all eat food together. The next morning, he wakes up early to join Yuba and to help her out in the usual village tasks. Ruri also wakes up in a messed up yukata and storms inside in embarrassment when she realizes how she looked in front of Ryo. Ryo then helps Yuba out in cooking, and Yuba asks him to make miso soup after seeing his skills. He conjures hot water by using spirit art, which makes the others surprised since it's a special technique, and he offers to teach the trick to Ruri later. They make soup together, and later Seo and her older brother Shin join them for food. The food turns out to be delicious, and Shin keeps eating it like a cow. They all compliment Ryo's skills, and after they are done, Yuba asks Shin to take Ryo to Dola to make him become a hunter. Shin thinks that Ryo may be too delicate for hunting and may not have enough stamina, but Yuba teases him that Ryo seems more mature and skilled than him. He takes the bait and immediately asks Ryo to accompany him to hunt. Ryo heads out with him while Ruri starts to tease Seo about Ryo. Ryo joins Dola and Shin in hunting, and just like Yuba had predicted, Ryo turns out to be an excellent hunter. He and Dola hunt a lot of animals down, and at the end, Shin whines about not taking any animal down. Dola promises to advise him and asks Ryo to join them the next day as well. Ryo returns to Yuba's house and erects a whole bathhouse to wash himself. He takes a luxurious bath and comes out only to come across Ruri and Seo, who seem curious about the bath. Ruri notices a good smell on him and pushes Seo close to him to make her smell too. Ryo reveals that it's the smell of the soap, and the girls start gushing over his skill and how he can make soap with his spirit art. Shin and some boys spot the bathing structure as well, and Shin makes fun of him for acting so weak. Ruri immediately entwines her arm with Ryo's to tease Shin and asks Ryo not to pay attention to Shin, who is just jealous of him. Ryo then keeps working with the villagers and helps them out in the fields as well. The women keep getting fascinated by him while Shin stays jealous whenever he sees him perform well. After the crops have been harvested, Yuba asks Ryo to guard the transportation cargo to the royal capital after the crops have been rationed between the villagers. He agrees to the task even though he doesn't find himself worthy, and they both hear that Shin is getting into a fight with the neighboring kids. At Yuba's house, the neighboring chief's son named Gon teases Ruri and Seo, and Shin threatens him to stop looking at the girls. Ruri warns Shin that he shouldn't physically attack him or else the situation can escalate between the villages. Gon reveals that he wants to stay at Ruri's house because he is heading to the royal capital to sell trade goods, but his cart has broken midway. Ruri offers him a cart of their own, and he teases her that he may become her husband in future. He explains that the village only has her as its heir, due to which she can become his wife, and Shin and the boys defend her that they will never allow it. Shin even punches him, but he blocks him and grabs him by his neck. Yuba appears and separates the both of them. She hears out the whole situation and asks Gon and his men to stay at one of the guest huts with the instruction that they cannot leave it. Gon agrees to her decision and also notices Ryo at a side. He immediately decides that he doesn't like Ryo's face, so he tries to kick him sneakily when he is passing by him. He ends up falling down himself, and Ryo nicely asks him whether he is alright. Gon heads to the village, and Yuba guides the villagers to stay cautious. Shin asks Yuba to let Seo live with her since he and Seo live alone, and she agrees to keep her. Later at night, Ryo gives Yuri and Seo a protective amulet to keep in their room, and on the other side, Gon discusses with his men that he intentionally busted the cart so that he could stay in the village. The next day, a tax examiner from the royal capital named Hate visits Yagumo, and everyone accompanies him through his examination of the harvested crops. He also eats food with them, and the day ends without any trouble. The next morning, Ryo practices sword training on his own and Ruri and Seo spot him. They compliment his form and ask him why he started martial arts, so he reveals that he liked a girl as a child due to which he wanted to grow stronger for her sake. He explains that he doesn't know where the girl lives now and he trains for himself now. Ruri assures him that he can still meet his crush and Hate comes out of the bath just then. Later when everyone is asleep, Gon sneaks inside Yuba's house and tries to assault Ruri. The protective amulet warns Ryo and he comes rushing at him. He gets triggered to see him on top of Ruri, so he throws him outside the house and starts to punch him to death. He keeps punching him till Hate stops him with a warning that Gon will die soon. Ryo steps back and Hate decides to get Gon punished by sending a message to the royal capital. Meanwhile, Ryo thinks about how he wanted to kill Gon and how he has started to feel like Hayato. The next day, Ryo apologizes to everyone for causing such an uproar and Yuba thinks that he definitely resembles someone she knows. Later, the wagons get filled to take the crops to the royal capital, and Gon and his men will also accompany them due to Hayate's application to the capital about their crimes. Yuba hands him a letter to give it to his father Gookie, and he promises to give Gookie the letter once he is done with the next village's examination. The transport cargo along with the prisoners and Hate head out of the village, and Hate parts ways with them in the middle. The cargo arrives at the royal capital 7 days later, and all the villagers stay at one of the inns. Dola advises the villagers not to wander around in the capital, and takes Shin and Ryo with him to take the prisoners to the prison camp. They see the prisoners off and afterwards eat ramen together at a restaurant. After they are done, Shin thanks Ryo for helping Seo and comments that Seo was also looking forward to eating ramen. Later Ryo takes Seo out for some shopping and suggests her to eat ramen with him. He mentions that Shin asked him to take her to eat ramen and that her brother looks out for her a lot. They both come across a jewelry stand where the seller assumes that they are a couple and asks Seo to buy something for herself. Ryo also insists that she should buy something and she decides to buy a hair ornament. The price turns out to be really high but Ryo pays it without haggling and the shopkeeper sneakily advises Seo to work hard to seduce Ryo. They also come across a ruffian trying to kidnap a girl, so Ryo steps in like a knight in shining armor and throws the ruffian down. The girl named Komomo faints in fear and her attendant thanks Ryo for saving her life. He hands Komomo back to her attendant and flees the scene with Seo before people can make a ruckus. Later Hayate's father Gookie reports to Hate that Komomo was kidnapped, but they cannot find her savior who quickly left the scene. Hate hands him the letter from Yuba and Gookie becomes shocked to read the contents of the letter, after which he quickly asks Hate whether he knows a person named Ryo. Ryo and Seo return to their inn where the villagers ask Seo where she got the pin from. She becomes embarrassed while Ryo heads inside to put his stuff down. Soon Hate, Gookie and his wife Kyoko join him and Gookie shares with him that he and his wife were both attendants to Ryo's mother Ayam. He then drops the bombshell on him that his mother Ayam was actually from the royal family of their kingdom of Karasuki. In the past, Ryo's father Zen was a skilled soldier who participated in the war of Karasuki versus their neighboring country Rokurin. Zen was very skilled in fighting as well as spirit arts, due to which the king soon gave him the warrior noble title. One time he even fought with Gookie, after which Gookie realized that he was very powerful and a Sigma guy. Gookie recommended to the royal family, after testing his skills, that Zen should guard members of the royal family, and Zen started guarding Ayam soon after that. Ayam started to take a liking to him, and around that time, both the kingdoms of Karasuki and Rokurin also had a trace. The prince of Rokurin took a liking to Ayam and tried to get his attendant to abduct her. The attempt failed when Zen stopped the attendant and even killed him. The prince became furious to learn this and demanded to have Zen executed for the sake of the truce. He even put down the condition to politically get married to Ayam, and due to these reasons, the king made Ayam and Zen run away in secrecy so that they could get away from such injustice. After telling Ryo the whole story, Gookie admits that Ryo seems like a royalty and begs him to meet with the royal family the next day. Ryo agrees to his request and the next day, meets with the King Hamura and Queen Shizuku. They ask him to be less formal with them and comment that he looks just like Ayam. Ryo reveals that his parents have already died, so Hamura asks him to explain how they both lived and died. Ryo explains to them that Zen died when he was just a baby and that Ayam took care of him without ever grieving in front of him. Ayam also died when he was 5 years old and the family asks him to spill the secret of how Ayam died. He reveals that Ayam was killed by a person named Lucius who worked as an adventurer with Zen and who would often help them out after he lost his father. One day Ayam left the house and Lucius came to their house. When Ryo opened the door for him, Lucius kicked him roughly and made him drink a potion to kill him. Ayam returned just then and he killed her in front of Ryo's eyes brutally. Ryo narrates his sob story that he woke up in the slums after Ayam's death and lived his life as an orphan. His life changed when he rescued Flora and got to attend a prestigious institute to learn magic. King Hamura sympathizes with him and Ryo assures him that he or Ayam never hated him but always wanted to come back to meet all of them. He explains to him that he still wants to take revenge for his mother's death and that he cannot forgive him at any cost. Hamura then asks him to spar with Guki, who is a very skilled swordsman, and reasons that Lucius may have killed Zen too, due to which he needs to develop his skills to combat him in the future. Ryo agrees to combat Guki, and they all soon come across Komomo's attendant named Aoi, who tells Guki that it was actually Ryo who had saved Komomo. After their meeting, Ryo and Guki face each other, and Ryo lunges at him with quick speed. They both fight against one another, and Guki even uses a special sword style which involves magic. Ryo conjures magic with his own sword as well and manages to defeat Guki. The outcome surprises everyone since Guki was supposed to be the country's most skilled swordsman, and Ryo thanks the king for the experience. He heads back to Yagumo to bid goodbye to everyone before leaving for Beltrum, where his parents were killed. Later, Ryo tells Ruri about his lineage, which shocks her immensely, and she wonders whether she should start calling him by a title. He assures her that only Ayam was from royalty, but he is a normal kid and asks her to treat him the same way as always. She also asks him to speak less formally with her, since they are both cousins, and Ryo reveals to the both of them that he plans to leave Yagumo in 1 year. He explains his plan to return to Beltrum, and that he plans to stop by at another place as well where a loved one is waiting for him. Soon he visits all the village girls to meet them, and the girls notice how he is informally talking with Ruri now. They find it weird, so Ruri explains to them that she asked Ryo to speak informally to her, since they both live in the same house. Time passes by and Ryo becomes involved with all village activities. He helps out in hunting, and during winters, he prepares for the winter with Yuba and Ruri. After winter, they all plant seeds for the crops and Ryo guides Ruri on how to plant properly. He also guides Seo and asks her to learn properly, since he wants her to supervise everyone after he is gone. Seo did not know that he is going to leave, so he explains to her that he plans to leave the village after the harvest. She thinks that he is moving somewhere nearby and asks him to come regularly to the village, so he clarifies that he is moving across the country and won't be able to visit regularly. The maiden heart gets the shock of her life, and she starts to cry. Ryo thinks that she has got some dirt in his eyes, so he conjures some water with spirit arts, and she washes her face with it. Ruri then joins the both of them, and they continue their work in the fields. After work, Seo heads home and starts to cry as soon as she is alone. Shin spots her crying and assumes that Ryo made her cry, so he starts to rush out to teach him a lesson. Seo stops and tells him that Ryo is leaving the village, but she assures him that she isn't worried about him. Shin doesn't get the hint and rushes to Ryo's house next. He demands Ryo to come outside and then begs him to stay in the village. He continues begging him till Seo rushes to his side and asks him to come back with her. She apologizes to Yuba and Ryo for Shin's behavior and asks them not to ask any questions. They agree to spare her, and she drags Shin away from their house. Ryo continues to spend his time in the village, as always, while Seo tries working on her spirit arts. Time passes by slowly, and the crops grow gradually as well. Seo continues to work on her magic as her physical abilities, and Shin keeps an eye on her. The harvest time arrives, and Guki also comes to visit the village with his family. He challenges the villagers to fight him, and some villagers push Dola forward to make him fight him. His wife Kyoko promises to scold him later for fooling around, but Ryo thinks that they should all enjoy themselves without thinking too much about status. The girls set up a ramen table, while Guki defeats Dola in his fight. Kyoko reveals to Ryo that Yuba invited them to join their harvest festival, and he thanks them for coming. Seo then comes and takes him to a side where she confesses her love to him. He immediately answers that he cannot return his feelings, and she thinks that his reason is because he is going to leave the village. She asks him to take her along with him, and that she has been training hard by working on her spirit magic and swordsmanship the past 6 months. She keeps pitching herself that she won't hold him down, but he refuses her offer. She declares that she only needs to stay by his side, but once again he apologizes to her for not returning his feelings and simply walks away. Seo starts crying, and Ryo walks by Shin, who is hiding, to tell him that he is sorry to him as well. Shin goes to console Seo, and Guki watches everything from a distance. The next day, Ryo bids goodbye to Yuba and Ruri very early in the morning and reveals that he has already said his goodbyes to all the villagers. They wish him good luck for his journey, and he turns back to leave. At the village gate, He comes across Seo, who recalls that Gookie approached her the previous day and asked her whether she really loves Rio or not. He even asked her whether she can throw away her village for his sake, and she professed that she loved Rio a lot. Seo tells him to take care of himself, and he shakes hands with her with the promise that they will surely meet again. Rio then heads on his journey and soon arrives at the wilderness where the Beast Girls come out to greet him. He lands inside the village and Latifah comes running at him. He later eats food with the girls and the elders where he narrates his adventure to them. He mentions to Latifah that both Yuba and Ruri wanted to meet her since she is his little sister, and she admits that she wants to meet them too. The elders ask him how long he plans to stay at the village this time, so he reveals that he is only staying with them for a few months. Latifah whines about his short stay and he promises to return quickly to the village. He also asks the elders whether it's possible to carry a house with him during his travel, and the elder Dominic starts thinking of ways to build him a transportable house. The others ask him to enjoy his time in the meanwhile, and he heads to his harem home with Latifah. He meets the girls there and compliments Sarah and Alma for growing into beautiful ladies. Orphea starts to feel left out, so he compliments her as well, and Latifah then offers to take a bath with him, which makes all the girls scold her for acting so childish. The next morning, Rio wakes up and finds a girl sleeping with him casually. He thinks that he must be dreaming, so he tries to forget about her, but she moves closer to him, which makes him realize that she is real. The Beast Girls enter his room one by one and spot the girl, so he starts defending his honor that he doesn't know what's going on. All the girls end up witnessing his shamelessness and scream out in unison. The girls keep freaking out, so Sarah tries to calm them down and assures them that Rio just likes having girls in his room. The girls panic even more after hearing this, and Rio quickly wakes up the girl beside him to get some clarification from her. She slowly opens her eyes and reveals that she is the spirit who made a covenant with him. She calls him by his human name Haruto and reveals that she doesn't know anything about when she formed the covenant bond with him or whether she helped him out as a child or not. She doesn't seem to have any knowledge, and the Beast Girls also don't know what they should do since their spirits are not human-shaped. The spirit asks him to give her a name, and Orphea asks Rio why she keeps calling him Haruto. He decides to tell them later, and the spirit speaks in his mind that she knows everything about him. She reveals that she knows he was Haruto in his previous life, and that she won't tell anything to the other girls. Rio wonders whether it's alright for him to give the hot chick a new name, and asks her to give him some time to think of a name. The girls suggest him to consult the elders and Dryas for some counsel regarding the spirit, and the spirit gets up. Rio asks her to put on some clothes, so she conjures magical clothes on herself, which remind Rio of his old crush Michon. He gives her the name Aishia, which means warm springtime in the spirit language, and Aishia happily accepts her name. They head to meet the elders next to discuss Aishia and Rio's bond, and Dryas appears as well when she senses a powerful spirit within the village's barrier. She discusses with Aishia about her forgotten memories, and the others wonder why Aishia is calling Rio Haruto, so he explains that he is wanted as a criminal in the Straw region, due to which he calls himself Haruto in that region. The others believe him, and Dryas thinks that they need to determine what kind of spirit Aishia is. She asks her which elements she can use expertly, so Aishia reveals that she can use all elements, which shocks everyone. They all head to the spirit altar where Rio faces Aishia to fight her in order to test her powers and to understand her better. He drops a stone on the ground, which announces the start of their battle, and Aishia instantly rushes towards him to attack him. He blocks all her attacks and also notices that she seems to have full knowledge of his fighting style and techniques. He then jumps back and decides to test her spirit arts, so he jumps in the air and Aishia rushes at him in the mid-air as well. He lands on the ground and throws ice magic at him, but she disappears by converting into a spirit and teleports behind him. She throws ice magic at him, which he blocks by using fire magic, and then conjures fire magic to block Rio's attacks. Both of them then conjure wind storms to battle each other, and Orphea announces the end of battle. She explains that they were getting too carried away and might have affected the village too. Dryas thinks that Aishia is only using a fraction of her powers, but she is unstable now because she doesn't have proper knowledge about spirits yet. She decides to teach her the basics of spirits and spirits arts, and both Rio and Aishia thank her for it. They spend time at the village where the villagers treat them warmly, while Dryas teaches Aishia about the spirits. In the meanwhile, Dominic makes a house for Rio, which includes a bath too, and advises him to lay down the foundation by using spirit arts wherever he will decide to conjure his house. Rio decides to pay respect to all the elders next, and declares that he will soon be leaving now that his house has been made. The girls feel sad to hear his decision, and Sarah asks them to prepare a meal for him. She also asks him to talk in detail with Latifah before leaving because she feels out. Later Rio takes a bath and thinks about how he has been paying all attention to his harem girl Aisha and not to Latifah. Suddenly Latifah enters the bath in a bath towel and asks to wash his back. He tells her to head back, but she insists that she wants to wash his back or else she will jump in the pool. He reluctantly agrees due to her blackmailing, and she then washes his back as she yaps about how he is leaving in 2 days soon. She reveals that her name in her previous life was Endo Susan, so Rio reveals that his name was Haruto. She explains that she used to travel by bus each day and there was a guy on it that she used to think of as her older brother. Rio realizes that they were both in the same bus when they died and he promises her that he will come back to meet her no matter what happens. Soon the day of his departure arrives and the elders give him a special spirit stone which works as a teleportation style and will help him teleport to their city. He realizes that they are giving him a very special gift and they also give him another gift which can make his hair color change. Rio thanks them for all the gifts including the house that they have built for him and Dryas asks Aisha to remember all the things she has taught her. Rio also asks the girls to take care of his little sister Latifah and they both then head on their way. On the way he tells Aisha that he needs to meet someone before heading to Stall and she realizes that he wants to meet Celia. At Stall, Celia meets with Charles who keeps shamelessly flirting with her and his attendant comes to bring him back. She smoothly reminds him that the kingdom cannot work properly without his efforts and asks him to head back to his duties. Rio and Aisha arrive at the capital Beltrum where all the markets seem very crowded and Rio changes his hair color before entering a bakery to buy some food. The owner tells him that the streets are crowded due to a noble's wedding parade due to which lots of people have come from outside the capital. They both head to the academy next where they sneak inside thanks to Aisha's spirit form and Rio arrives at Celia's door. He recalls how they both departed the last time and enters her lab only to find that it's empty. Up next they ask another researcher by using spirit magic where Celia is and the researcher reveals that Celia is at the royal palace. He then drops the bombshell that Celia is actually at the palace to get married to the Duke Charles Arbor. The researcher explains that some time ago, Beltrum Kingdom suffered a crushing defeat by the Proxia Empire, but due to the effort of House Arbor negotiations for peace were established. In all the conflict, the royal family lost its power and authority while the House of Huguenot was made responsible for the conflict, after which both the royal family and the Huguenot family fled from the royal capital. Afterwards, the House of Duke Arbor gained momentum and wanted to increase its strength by rallying itself with the House Clare where Celia belongs from. Rio asks the researcher whether House Clare agrees to this marriage, but receives no response. He then tells Ischia that he wants to ask Celia directly about the marriage, since the wedding is on the next day and Aisha proposes to head inside the castle in her spirit form. He warns her that the palace may be able to detect her immense magical powers, and she reminds him that she can visually perceive barriers that are made to detect magic. She assures him that she knows what Celia looks like, and then heads to the palace to begin her spy kid mission. Celia has dinner with Charles and her father Laurent, who apologizes to her for not meeting sooner with her even though it's the night before her wedding. Charles assures him that all the preparations are complete and that security will be very tight due to the disorderly state of the kingdom. He also points out that he has been hearing rumors that Laurent along with a few nobles are secretly in contact with the House Huguenot, and Laurent assures him that all such rumors are false. Charles assures him that his reputation will improve once he marries Celia, and that he will become House Arbor's commander and director after the marriage. Laurent realizes that he is being threatened, but since his position is weak, he accepts Charles's offer, and even Celia thanks him for all the help. Rio notices from the above that the palace is heavily guarded and Aisha joins him to reveal that she has located Celia. She informs him that Celia is outside the palace currently, and he heads towards her location quickly. Celia thinks about how she couldn't speak with her father properly, and she sees the letter from Rio which he had sent after leaving Beltrum many years ago. She decides to burn it, but just then hears a voice outside her room. Rio enters the room and after changing his hair colors, reveals his identity to her. He comments that he has returned just like he promised, and she immediately rushes to hug him. She notices that he has grown very tall while he also compliments her grown looks and beauty. She wonders how he even came to her room, so he reveals that he had to sneak inside like a creep. She asks him to share every single detail about his adventure, and even excitedly rushes to make tea before they can start their discussion. He recalls how they used to drink tea a lot, and asks her whether he is really marrying Charles. She reveals that she is marrying him, which makes him question whether she agreed to the marriage or not. She starts ranting that she is of age due to which she has to marry someone, and that Charles is a very kind person even though he has an ill history with Rio. She then becomes emotional as she asks him whether he will marry her instead and take her away from everything, but declares at the end that she is only kidding. She then asks him to leave, and when he reminds her that they have to talk about a lot of things, she insists that her caretakers will soon come to her room, due to which he must go. She pushes him out of the room and starts crying as she waits for him to leave. Rio leaves, and she thinks about how happy she was to see him return. He returns to Aishia's side and tells her that he still doesn't know about Celia's true feelings, due to which he wants to dig more about the real reason behind the wedding. She agrees to help him out, and he apologizes to her for always pushing her around and making her help him. The next morning, Charles welcomes Rice and complains to him that he should have let him know about his arrival sooner. Rice reminds him that they cannot be seen too close or else people will suspect something, and just then he senses a strong spirit in the vicinity. He tells Charles that he wants to wait at the wedding hall, so Charles asks an attendant to show him the way, and Rice feels that the spirit has disappeared. Celia gets ready for her wedding and tells herself that she is a doll without any feelings. Charles calls her outside, and she steps out in the midst of many compliments. Charles also compliments her looks and hands her over to his bundle of wives to take care of her. Tenesina, who is the first wife, reminds her that she has a higher social standing as a count's daughter, but since she is the seventh wife, she has the lowest status among all of them. Celia gladly accepts her position and hopes to learn from all of them. Her attendant announces that Princess Christina has arrived, and Celia welcomes her warmly despite Tenesina's objections. Christina compliments her looks and asks to speak in private with her, so the other wives leave them alone for their talk. They both head inside where they drink tea together, and Christina notices that she looks better now. She shares that she feels much better now that she is outside the palace, and that her world changed a lot when Duke Huguenot fled with Princess Flora. She believes that the loss of faith in the royal family led to circumstances due to which Celia has to marry a douchebag now, and that she has indirectly caused her to lose her smile even though she used to be so happy back when she was teaching them. She promises Celia that she will help her out if there's ever a chance to restore her smile, and Celia also prays for her and Flora to reunite one day. Charles and Emerl have a discussion in which Charles reminds Emerl that he shouldn't get too cocky even if he is assuming command of his forces, because he himself is the ultimate head of security. Finally, the wedding begins, and a carriage takes Charles and Celia through the capital. The parade guards surround the carriage, and all townspeople come out to watch the wedding procession. They call Celia the Silver Bride, which is a title that Charles likes, and he keeps making creepy comments to her that he wants to quickly seal their marriage with a kiss. Rio also calmly waits in the crowd to see Celia, and thanks Aisha for sharing all the information with him. He sends Aisha to Celia's side, who tries to talk to her. Celia realizes that a spirit is trying to communicate with her, and Aisha tells her that Rio is also watching her from the crowd. Celia notices Rio in the crowd and starts to cry because she didn't want to be seen by him. Charles becomes panicked and asks her why she is crying, so she lies to him that she was feeling very sentimental. He asks her to act dignified, and she notices that Rio is gone from the crowd, which makes her wonder whether she was just fantasizing. The wedding ride arrives at their spot, and suddenly an intruder rushes forward through the crowd. Rio rushes through the crowd and makes a bunch of guards fly with his wind magic. The mage guards throw magic bullets at him, but he dodges all of them with his quick speed and jumps over a bunch of guards to approach Celia. The guards enhance their physical abilities to deal with him, and Celia also spots Rio, but Charles assures her that everything will be alright, and that the intruder has to deal with the elite guards who are very powerful. Rio easily topples the guards and rushes at Charles. He punches him, which knocks him out, and then holds Celia close with his knife. Laurent tries to approach Celia, but Vanessa stops him and asks him not to provoke the intruder. Rio speaks to Celia through telepathy, and asks her to speak to him through her mind too. He explains that he wants to learn about her, since he is pretty sure that she is being threatened into marriage by the Arbor House. She tries convincing him that she agrees to the marriage, but he assures her that he can easily break off her wedding if she wants, even if he sounds very arrogant. The people around them try to gather security, and Rio rants about how he doesn't want to lose his loved ones anymore. He keeps up his desperate whining while the palace guards rush forward to surround and attack him. He points out that she looks really upset despite thinking that she is making the right decision, and asks her to reconsider her decision to marry Charles. She asks him what he will do if she changes her mind to get married, and he answers that he will take her far away so that any blame doesn't fall on her father Laurent for her running away. She reminds him that he can get caught too, but he assures her that he is the Sigma Lord who cannot get caught. She declares that she wants to run away, so Rio declares out loud that he wants to humiliate Charles and abduct his partner. He picks Celia up and jumps up to get away. He then makes a run for it, and Charles and Laurent call out for Celia. Charles orders his men to all rush forward to attack Rio, but Emerl warns him that he is issuing the wrong order. All the men run forward to stop Rio, and Rio jumps above them to easily get away. Enrolling scolds Charles that Rio has jumping powers, which means he can easily get away, and the mage guards attack him with magical bullets again. He drops Celia on the ground and blocks all the bullets with his magic. Rice notices from a distance that it's spirit arts, which reminds him of the time Rio used the same magic when he was a student. He decides to test him out and throws a huge magical ball at him. Rio blocks it and manages to run away with Celia again. Charles scolds his men for firing at Rio randomly because he thinks Celia can get hurt this way, and Emerl orders the aerial knights to pursue Rio. He gives Vanessa authority to control the guards on the guards and to coordinate between the captains of all units. Charles scolds Emerl for letting Celia get kidnapped despite being the most useless groom so far, and Emerl asks him whether he knows about the kidnapper's identity. Charles comments that the kidnapper had some kind of grudge with him, which makes Emerl think that there are many potential candidates then. He runs away to pursue the kidnappers, while Charles starts cursing out loud like a loser. Rice watches everything from a distance and thinks that he cannot run away to pursue Rio himself because he is an official ambassador whose absence will gain attention. Rio runs away from the Griffin pursuers and asks Celia to hang on tight as he increases his speed. She thinks that he has grown a lot, and he increases his speed even more to get away from his pursuers. He tells her that someone else is helping him and then jumps in an alleyway to summon Aisha. He hands over Celia to her and explains that he is going to act as a decoy by running away while Aisha will help him escape from the royal capital. Aisha assures him that she will explain everything about her to Celia on the way, and he then rushes away from them. The guards spot him and notice that Celia isn't with him, so they send a flare signal to warn the ground troops to search for Celia. Rio runs away from them and they keep attacking him just like he had planned. They throw magical shots at him which he evades, and he notices ground troops, so he jumps in front of them to stop them. He takes down the ground guards one by one, but a group of them come to stop him and he tries to take them down as well. The aerial troops also keep shooting at him, and he wonders whether he can even get away without killing anyone. Emerl approaches him just then and tells his troops to stay back. He rushes to attack Rio with his huge sword, and Rio starts to fight him with his blades. They both butt heads together, and Rio notices right off the bat that not only is he very strong, but his sword has some kind of magical formula on it which makes it special. He continues to block Emerl's attacks with his blade, and Rio tries to push him back without attacking him directly. Emerl's guards cannot believe that he is being pushed back, and Emerl asks Rio why he isn't attacking him. He thinks Rio is underestimating him, so he conjures his sword's most powerful attack and launches it on Rio. The attack shatters everything around them and destroys the whole street. Rio disappears from the site, and Emerl comments that the attack should have left no trace of him, but he thinks that Rio has definitely escaped somehow. He orders his men to keep looking for him and Celia. Outside the town, Celia asks Aisha whether Rio is alright, and she gives her the good news that he is nearby. Rio appears just then, and Celia rushes to hug him. She asks him whether he is alright, and he assures her that he isn't hurt. He thanks Aisha for her help too, and they all decide to resume their journey. Celia wonders whether she is dreaming and what will happen from now on. Rio informs her that there is something that he really has to do, but in the meanwhile he will stay with her and make sure she has everything. Suddenly, a light gets released from the mountain in the distance, and it's followed by multiple mountains releasing powerful lights. Rio feels like Aisha has the spirit of his childhood crush Michon, and Aisha then begs him to help the others out when she sees the lights. Rio rushes to the site where the light was released, and in the meanwhile Michon and two kids appear near Beltrum. They wonder what's going on, and suddenly a beast appears before them. The man kidnaps all of them and puts them in different carts. Rio appears and notices one of the men holding a telephone, which shocks him, so he asks the men where they found the telephone from. They pretend to be ignorant, and just then the Japanese kids shout at him from inside the cart. He knocks the men down and releases the kids, who tell him that they have another companion. He then opens another cart and lays his eyes on his childhood crush Michon, who thanks him for saving her. That's all for today, my fellow men of culture. If you like the video, make sure to subscribe Ani YOLO for more anime recaps.